Hi everyone. I'm back with part two. If you remember, uh, when I did the workshop the last time, I had a crash on my hands where the external hard drive just cut out, and I couldn't get it back to carry on with the recording of the show. So what I've thought I'd do is do a part two, where we'll go straight into the Lightroom module, and I'll show you one of the cheats which will help you just to practice your HDR when you've only just got the one image in your Lightroom catalog. What I'm going to do is copy it twice, keep the center image as it is, make one of them overexposed by just moving the exposure slider, and then one of them underexposed again by moving the exposure slider to -1. And those three copies I'll then open up in HDR. So fingers crossed this is going to work. I've done a check on everything. It appears that everything's okay. So let's have a try for you, and let's fingers crossed it'll work. The screen may go a little bit funny for a little while, but it should settle down to for you to see my desktop. I'm trying to run a screen to check that I'm doing work, and hopefully you'll be able to see now my full desktop. It does look as though you can with regards to my workshop. So here we are in Lightroom. There's the catalog which I've created. Sorry, not a catalog, the collection I've created of some images. I'll just show you them briefly before. That was the one, if you remember, I showed you where you can just do the HDR in the program itself by adjusting sliders, and for the HDR effect, which in actual fact I was quite pleased with. This was a mono effect, which I just basically took the program and switched it straight to a mono, and I haven't made any adjustments to that at all. And again, I'm getting the depth of field that I wanted, showing the mountains in the background covered by the mist and the cloud, and not overdoing the emphasis on the vibrancies and the color. So here's basically an image which I created using this idea of just one image and adding the plus and minuses of the exposure to give you three images to take into HDR Effects. And this was the original. As you can see, it's fairly flat. There's no detail in the right hand side of the image because of the brightness from that side, but also it was so misty. So what I'm going to do here, take it into the develop module, and then no, in actual fact I won't do that. Let's change that, wait for it to come out, and then I'll go to the go back to the library, because I have to copy the images. So back to the library, select the image which you have decided you want to do your work on, and hit Command apostrophe, and that will copy that image, and then do a Command apostrophe again, and it'll give you the third image. So you've now got three copies, or two copies of the original. Mine showing three copies because of the original, which was I showed you, which I'd done the work on. So in the right hand one, we're going to click on the develop module, and this is going to be our overexposed image. So we'll click the exposure window there and just make that 1.0 and click return. As you can see, it's overexposed the image. We'll scroll back one to the center one, which we're going to keep as the same, keep that perfectly balanced. I'm not going to touch any of the other sliders, highlights, shadows. I'm just going to leave it totally to the HDR program to do that work for me. And then this one, which is the third image, the one which was on the left of the threesome, I'm going to put in -1.0, and that will underexpose the image. And now you can see that basically I have, go back into the module again, I have the underexposed, the normal exposed as the camera produced for me, and the overexposed final image. So I'm going to select all three. Then I'm going to go to photo, edit in, and that'll take me direct to my HDR version of oh, it doesn't on this one. That's right. Sorry, I've got to go to another portion. Sorry. Go to File, Plugins, and my it's in Export with Preset. Take it to HDR Effects Pro 2. Now this will take a little while to load, and you should be very soon see my HDR program start up. And because I'm going on a live feed as well as programming through, it does take a while to upload. You can see there it's just tiny little upgrade of the uploading process. Obviously, if I wasn't live online, it would be a lot quicker for you. So as I say, once I've got these 3 images in the, it's just processing through now. Once I've got the 3 images in the HDR program, I'll be looking basically to do the work in the program itself to create the HDR image that I'm looking for. It's nearly finished its processing of the 3 photos, and HDR Effects will be starting up very shortly. I generally do this basically as practice, but there are times where I've taken an image which I wish I'd done a bracket of images, and I feel that I can do some HDR work on that image. Now, the difference mainly being, I find, is that you probably just lose a little bit of highlight detail when you actual fact do this yourself. Now, that would in actual fact mean the best thing for you to do is to adjust the highlights and shadows in the original image and then copy those through to create your 3 images. And of course, you can copy 5 and 7 and 9 if you want at variant exposures using the Lightroom slider. So it's just about to load now in HDR Effects, and as you can see, it's done its work. It's now asking me again to confirm the exposure of the 3 images. So the middle one we're going to leave at 0. The one on the left we're going to make -1, and the one on the right we're going to make +1. And then I'm going to click Create HDR. Now this HDR program is via the Nik collection, which is free through Google+. And you just do a very quick search for Nik software collection or Nik collection, and it'll give you the link, and you can download so many different programs which the Nik software creates. Too many to mention here, but the most popular are the HDR program, which I'm using here, the Silver Effects, which really makes beautiful mono images. And then, of course, there's Viveza and other options which you can use, which you should really try to have a look at. Just preparing the image now. And there we have effectively the first effect of what HDR Effects has put together. You can see immediately on the right hand side I've got a little bit more detail in the skyline. It's given me a little bit punchier color. But the great thing about Nik software is the fact that you can scroll through different styles of what you want to create, and you can see by just clicking through these different options here how the program creates the vibrancy and the saturations of color. Now you can go on and on with these programs. This is one which they call Detailed, and this one is Detailed 2, so it's really sharpening up those edges and making it a bit grungy, something which I don't really like in HDR. This is a bright version, and there's a dark version. Okay, at the top here you'll see there's a selection of 6, 7 different options, which mainly are specifically linked to a particular style of photography. There is one here for landscape, which only gives you 4 options, of HDR Effects. This is the initial stage. So you've got the soft option here, the vignette option, a graduated option, and finally another graduated with a slightly stronger base and lighter top to the image at the top side. So I've got to be honest, I'm not really that impressed with all of those, to be perfectly frank with you. I think the best one probably out of it is the softer version. Do I like the softer version? Do I like the vignette version? I like the vignette version. I like the detail in the cloud. So I'm going to leave it at that for the moment. Now what we can do is go on to the next onto the right hand side, and sort of like where you can actually go in and change the details of this particular creation they've made. And I'm just going to show you what the sliders can do. This is tone compression. You can move tone compression down, and it, as you can see, it makes an immediate response and change to your image using tone compression. Now that was up at around about 68%, I seem to remember, and I'm just going to drop that down to 55. No, a little bit more, 56. I'm going to leave it 56. The method strength shows you the selection you've made on the left-hand side, whether you want it more or whether you want it less. See if that makes any difference to the image. And it doesn't really. So we're going to leave it at 70%. The HDR method makes a slight adjustment. Again, there's more getting a little bit more sort of depth to the image, or I can, if you leave it in the center there, it's a subtle, normal, and then you can go to strong, and strong really emphasizes all the edges and the like. I'm going to leave it in the subtle range, which is around about there. It's a little bit lower. Can't get it to settle down. Detail for realistic, accentuated, and you can see how harsh you can make this, almost like a sketch, isn't it? Take it back down. I like realistic. I think we all agree basically on the work that was being shown on our Flickr group. Drama. You can drop the drama down, or you can go to a sharp, grainy effect. And it's interesting, you look at the top of the hills there, how that got an edge there, and then all of a sudden you add a little bit more, and you keep going, and then you basically get right into those details. There's a little bit too much for me. I'm going to come back to, I'm going to leave it at deep. Tonality. Exposure. You can go obviously brighter, or you can go underexposed. Let's leave it where it was. Bang in the middle. Maybe just a little bit exposure. Shadows. We love getting into our shadows. Or do we want to darken the shadows down a little bit to just give a little bit more natural effect? I think just take the shadows down a little bit. Highlights. This is one thing which I don't want to blow out on this particular image because of the sky. You'll see in a minute as we go. You see, I'm losing the sky. I don't want to do that. I want to drop that right down. So I'm just going to give it a little bit. I think that's around about there. I can adjust the contrast. Or I can reduce the contrast. Just like it a little bit more than what it's showing. There's loads of different sliders in here. We could literally spend hours going through this. In my opinion, probably one of the best HDR programs out there. There are others. There's Photomatics, as some of you guys have been using. And of course, there's Aurora, which has been developed by Trey Ratcliffe. And Trey Ratcliffe does know a bit about HDR processing. And I have downloaded that. But it's horses for courses, is what you get used to using and what you get used to enjoying to use, and what is more friendlier to use for yourself. So in the color section of this, we can saturate the colors. And we can desaturate the colors. I'm just going to saturate them just a little bit because, as I said to you, in the fields, the greens are so green. Temperature, mainly it's controlling. You want it blue, or do you want it yellow, like a warm effect? Obviously, far too much. I'm just showing you the effect. I'm just going to warm it up just a smidge, just 2%. I'm going to leave the tint as it is because the tint just will either give me I'll show you a magenta finish, which these are very good to add in sunsets and sunrises if you really want to emphasize those colors. I'm going to leave it by double clicking on the slider at 0. Now, one of the things here which they have got, which is very, very clever, is a control point. I'm just going to click on the control point circle there, select the and click on the image, and you can see this drop down menu appears. Now, what in actual fact that will do, that it will select everything in that where that highlight is, will select everything in this circumference that is similar to those pixels, and you can increase the exposure, which will affect those pixels. You see, it doesn't affect the mounting range, or you can decrease it. Too dark for me. A little bit lighter. I think around about 22% will do it. I can then adjust the contrast. I can then adjust the saturation. I can then the structure, the blacks. If there are any blacks in there, I can adjust those, and I can adjust the whites. You can see the whites are affected in that area. Temperature. We don't need to know what the temperature does exactly what I said. Maybe we just add a little bit of temperature in that region to give it an impression that there is some form of sunlight there behind those clouds. Tint and method strength I've described to you before, but it will concentrate in that area where that circle has selected the where I've made the selection for that. Now, if, for argument's sake, the sky was exactly the same on the left-hand side as the right, I could copy that and move it over to the left-hand side and it would match exactly what I've done. But I can't do that this one because we've got rolling mist and fog coming through. So what else can we do on this program? We can look at vignettes. We love a vignette, don't we? So let's go to vignette, and it says here off. So let's see what happens. Vignette. Just click on that because I want to close that down. So at the moment it says off on the vignette, and we've got a white frame, very much like the old time images that were created using the sepia. Then we come into the black frames, the darker vignettes. 3, 2, 1, and off. I like 3. So I click on 3. It's called lens 3. You've here got graduated neutral density. You can adjust the upper tonality of the image. See, it's not touching the bottom. Leave it where it is. The lower tonality you can adjust. It's adjusting the bottom, not the top. Can you see? And I don't want that to be too dark down there. So I'm going to bring that to 0. Then there's the blend and the vertical shift and the rotation. And if you are one that loves using your curves, you have a curve option here as well to create. Now, as that stands, I'm very pleased with that. So I'm going to hit save, and it'll save it as a TIFF and put that into your catalog. Just wait for that to do its work. Saving the image now, as you can see. I wanted to do this for you live rather than record it, so that it doesn't, it shows you the process, and your computers will run quicker than mine is here because of the, as I say, I'm doing a live feed, so my computer's working doubly time, but I can see that the on my laptop here that you are getting what I'm getting, or rather what I'm showing. And the image should have come up in there. So I've got to find it now. Sometimes HDR does throw a little wobbly, and you have to go and find the original image. I took it with my XC1. See if I can find it very quickly in my program. You'll see all my family photographs here. And my work. Now that's annoying that I can't show you the finished item. Yeah, the program, Nick, either puts the image back into the original folder where you downloaded where you did the original image, where you downloaded the original image, or it will in actual fact put it into the collection. And for some reason, my one has decided to put it into the original collection, so I've now got to find it. So it's a bit embarrassing. It's here somewhere. I think probably the best thing for me to do is to show you when it's been completed. There's the 6 images. I think, in actual fact, that is it there. Yep, that is the one. So sorry about that delay, folks. I'll just drag that in to the collection so that you can see the difference in the 2 images. So this was the original. This was the underexposed option that I just by moving the slider to the left and or typed in -1, and this was the that was the. I'm sorry, getting confused here myself. Anyway, those three were the three that I created for the workshop. The first copy is the normal exposure. The second one was the overexposure, and the third one was the underexposure. Let's double click on that. That's the copy of the original image. That is the overexposed. That is the underexposed. And that is the HDR created by just one single image. And I'm pretty pleased with that. I can do some work now in that. I can go into the develop module just briefly while we've got a little bit more time. And now I can start making some adjustments if I want purely in Lightroom. I can start dropping the highlights. I can increase the shadows if I want, probably just a little bit, and then a little bit of clarity. I would leave it at that. The selection tool, which is up on the top right-hand corner, I can in actual fact, maybe, this is probably an idea, take a line straight across the center there. Just cover that area. You'll see the area which I've highlighted there. I can take the highlight slider because I want these clouds to just be a little bit brighter. And you can just brighten that. It won't touch any of the others. It's not an exposure slider. It's a highlight slider. And then if I touch the whites and just the whites in that area which I've selected, I can now increase. And you can see I can go silly if I want, just to show you. I'm just going to bring them down a little bit more. And I'm pretty pleased with that. So I'm going to click done. So there you go. That is how I practice my HDR. And to be quite honest with you, that particular effect that I've created there off the one image, I'm pretty pleased with the way Lightroom is so detailed. It's got so much latitude that you can create from your raw files, and it is best to work from the raw file of your camera, by the way. So much detail can be gathered from the raw file and used in Lightroom. There is an amazing array of quality that is in your file, which you can use, and really it is enhanced by simply just copying the image twice, making an underexposure by sliding to -1 and overexposing to +1, and then effectively putting it in HDR Effects, the program that I prefer. You can try Photomax. It works exactly the same way, or Aurora or others. And then once you've done the final bit, you've finished all your details there, take it back into Lightroom and just make some final adjustments. And then the next stage is enjoying the print. And I think we'll have to do that in a workshop at another time. So thanks so much for joining me for this particular workshop. I'm sorry we had the problem before, but it does appear, I've been watching it on my laptop here, it does appear as though it's gone out okay. Any questions, please give me a call. There won't be a workshop, send drop a line in the Flickr group, that's what I mean. There won't be a workshop next week. I'm away on business. I may just do a couple of recordings while I'm out because I've got a couple of free days. So I'll be doing some street photography in Dubrovnik. So I may make a couple of recordings there if I get the chance. And I'll be putting something up so the week after that. Another thing which happened, you may have seen on my Facebook posting, I bought a new camera. I bought the X Pro 1, which is the older version of the X Pro series now, because they've just brought out the X Pro 2. And everyone's asking me why. Why did you buy the 1 and not the 2? So I'm going to do a review of that camera on the 23rd of June. That'll be in place of my interview show for that particular week. And obviously by then I would have used it. I have used the Pro 2, so I've got some images from that camera, so it'd be great to sort of do some good comparison images from those two times that I've used it. I'm pretty impressed with the X Pro 1, I've got to be honest with you, and at the prices available at the moment is a pretty good damn buy. But anyway, so I hope you've enjoyed this workshop. A couple of little updates, what's going to happen in the future. Keep updating your images on the Flickr. If you want to have a crack at doing a one image HDR, then have a crack at doing that. And I look forward to seeing the images. And as I say, I'll see you in 2 weeks' time when I'll do the do the X Pro one review, and then the following week after that, we'll get back onto our workshops. So all the best to you. Thanks again for watching, and I hope this one's been of help for you. All the best. Bye bye.